So the last game that we'll talk about that you'll often come across in investor presentations is where initial production rates or IP rates are kind of used as marketing. So IP rates, whether they're 24-hour rates, 30-day, 90-day rates, they all measure how quickly a well will kind of clean up the frac fluid and reach a stable flow. They don't measure how much the rock will produce over its life. So the IP rates that make press releases, as is the case here in Painted Pony back in 2018, these are all wells that are kind of on the very right tail of distribution. So again, back in 2018, this company advertised a well that averaged over, roughly 3,600 BOE a day. They talked about how this was a 24-hour test and that it was higher than their type curve for the area. As we kind of roll forward to what actually happened to this company, the actual kind of 2018 production was 17% below the low end of guidance. Then in 2019, guidance was cut twice. So obviously, these IP rates didn't necessarily translate to kind of sustained corporate level performance. And then eventually, in August 2020, CNRL acquired the company at a little less than 70 cents per share. And, this is quite a dramatic kind of markdown from just a few years earlier, where AltaGas had taken a strategic stake in the company at $12 a share. So basically a 94% kind of wipeout of the equity at that point in time. Now, after the acquisition, CNRL targeted 7 wells on the same acreage as what was described here, and they generated for gas about 8 million cubic feet a day per well, which is well below what was kind of advertised here, the 12.7 million cubic feet a day. So again, not necessarily nefarious in these kind of presentations where they're kind of advertising rates, but you really need to take it for what it is, which is it's marketing. It does not tell you what the asset will produce on a long time frame. So Canadian securities regulators actually require that companies be very explicit about this. They require that flow test results are come with language stating that they're not necessarily indicative of long-term performance, but a lot of investors just kind of read right past these kind of footnotes